Yo, 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 it's your boy Black Anonymous coming at you with another video real quick. You know what I'm saying? Back on, I think, September the 10th. You know what I'm saying? The boy CK got hit in the neck, you know, by somebody. Well, they say it's Tyler Robinson. You know what I'm saying? That's who they say it is. So we don't know if it's really him or it's not because so much stuff is crazy in the world these days. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we got new evidence right now. So what's going on is Candace Owens been digging in. She been like, hey, this is fake. You know what I'm saying? Something ain't right. I don't think it was Tyler or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or whatnot. These pictures ain't matching up and this and that and, you know, all kind of stuff going on. So we're going to dig into a little bit of it today. You know what I'm saying? So sit back. Let's check it out.
The individual who filmed the footage of the shooter on the roof told me that he doesn't think that Tyler Robinson is the guy.
For weeks, police insisted this was a lone shooter, but new footage, eyewitness statements, and leaked security logs suggest something much darker. Charlie Kirk's private security team might have been closer to the murder than anyone imagined, and what we found next changes everything. The assassination and initial investigation. On September 10, 2025, the conservative movement lost one of its most influential voices when Charlie Kirk was fatally shot during a speaking event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. What initially appeared to be a straightforward case of political violence has evolved into something far more complex, with mounting questions about whether we've been told the complete truth. Charlie Kirk, the 31-year-old founder of Turning Point USA, was addressing a crowd of approximately 3,000 people as part of his American Comeback campus tour. The event was held in an open grassy amphitheater, a detail that would later prove critically important to understanding the security failures that day.
That's a lot of people you call
Yo, look, first of all, I want to say this. You know, if you got different views or, you know, you talk this way or talk that way, nobody should get done the way he got done. You know what I'm saying? That was very, very crazy. You know what I'm saying? But you know, you can't stop how people react to stuff. So I mean, if it offends you how somebody react to it, just pay no attention. I mean, it's not like you can really do anything about that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? You can do something about people doing those kind of acts, though. You know what the focus need to be on is the person that actually did this. Who did it? You know what I'm saying? If it's Tyler Robinson, we need to find out why he did it, his motives, and you know, stop that from repeating. You know what I'm saying? It's been too much of that kind of thing going on. It's been too much of a lot of other things going on. But you know, that's what's going on right now, and that should be the focus instead of worrying about really how people feel and how people reacting about it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you care about them, I know it's a bunch of people that cared about them, and that's all you need to worry about. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's get back to it.
Those would be among Charlie Kirk's final words. At approximately 12:23 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, a single shot rang out across the campus. The bullet struck Kirk in the neck with devastating precision. Video footage from multiple angles captured the horrifying moment. Kirk clutching the podium, then collapsing as chaos erupted around him.
UVU by the Soundstand reported one individual that was shot, unknown where the shooter went. And let's be advised, UVU in Orem has had an active shooter at the Charlie Kirk event. We're getting several calls.
The dispatch audio reveals the immediate confusion that followed the shooting. Officers struggled to locate the shooter, with reports of a figure in black tactical gear carrying a long rifle on a rooftop. But even in these earliest moments, something didn't add up. Within minutes, emergency responders transported Kirk to Timpanogos Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead from a single gunshot wound to the neck. The weapon used was identified as a bolt-action Mauser rifle, chambered in .30-06 caliber, a powerful hunting rifle capable of taking down large game at significant distances. The official investigation moved with unprecedented speed. Within 33 hours, authorities had identified and arrested suspect, 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson from St. George, Utah. But it's the circumstances surrounding Robinson's identification and arrest that have raised the first serious questions about this case. Robinson came from what many would consider.
Now, I know they saying, you know, they got Tyler Robinson. Immediately after the shots rang out, it was an old dude that jumped out and started screaming, I did it, I did it, I did it. You know what I'm saying? which is real crazy. I don't even know if that dude been investigated or what he said or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But I know he locked up. But I think they locked him up on child pornography charges or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna have to look into that and, you know, check out and see what's going on with that dude. But I thought that was real crazy though. You know what I'm saying? I think he did say he wanted to kill her to get away, but damn, like, crazy world, man.
Consider an all-American background, a conservative Mormon family in southern Utah. His father owned a small business, his mother worked as a social worker, and the family was actively involved in their local church community. Neighbors described them as loving, quiet, and hard-working, with Robinson himself seen as very smart, reserved, and a good kid. Robinson's academic record was stellar. He graduated from Pineview High School in 2021 with a 4.0 GPA and a 34 ACT score, placing him in the 99th percentile nationally. He received a presidential scholarship to Utah State University, though he left after just one semester. He later enrolled at Dixie Technical College, pursuing an electrical apprenticeship. But here's where the official narrative begins to strain credibility. According to investigators, Robinson had no prior criminal record, no history of violence, and had never even voted. He was registered as unaffiliated with any political party, yet we're expected to believe that this young man, with no apparent motive beyond recent political disagreements with his family, planned and executed a precision assassination on his own.
You know something else that was weird with the jump, man. Right before he was shot, he was asked about mass shootings and how many had happened, like since 2024, whatever time frame. I forget what they said, but you can look that up and see. But and his response is that with or without gang violence. Which kind of like put it on some black things that was on his mind almost before he got shot. The crazy thing is that he did say some things about black people that I don't stand with. You know what I'm saying? So on that notion, I do want to make that clear. Like, it's obvious that he ain't rock with us, you know what I'm saying? Regardless of how he made it painted it and how they want to paint it now, I can see very clear that he didn't rock with us by the statements that he made, you know what I'm saying? So, let's keep it going.
They want it over. They want Charlie's assassination to be officially ruled lone gunman. It was a lone gunman that did that. Nobody else is involved.
Conservative commentator Candace Owens has been among the most vocal in questioning the official story. She's raised concerns about the FBI's pressure on Utah authorities to close the case quickly and rule it a lone gunman operation. Her skepticism isn't without foundation. The evidence presented so far contains numerous inconsistencies that demand scrutiny. Let's examine what we actually know. The rifle used in the shooting was recovered in nearby woods, wrapped in a towel. The weapon belonged to Robinson's grandfather, and DNA evidence reportedly links Robinson to the rifle, the towel, and a screwdriver found at the scene. The bullet casings bore engravings with anti-fascist messages, phrases like "Hey fascist, catch," and lyrics from the Italian resistance song Bella Ciao. But here's what doesn't make sense. The engraving, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO," alongside serious political messaging. This mixture of memes, gaming culture references, and revolutionary ideology paints a picture that's far more complex than a simple political assassination. The timeline presented by authorities raises even more questions. Surveillance footage allegedly shows Robinson arriving on campus at 8:29 a.m., nearly 4 hours before the shooting. He was wearing what's described as a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. But later footage shows a figure in all-black tactical gear on the rooftop. When Robinson was arrested 33 hours later, he was reportedly wearing the original maroon outfit again, the same clothes from before the shooting. This has struck many observers as bizarre. Why would someone change into tactical gear for an assassination, then change back into their original outfit while on the run? And why keep those clothes for over a day?
Currently, there is absolutely no video which shows Tyler Robinson firing the weapon or even taking aim at Charlie Kirk. In fact, the individual who filmed the footage of the shooter on the roof, the lone video that exists of the shooter on the roof, also told me that he doesn't think that Tyler Robinson is the guy.
Perhaps most troubling is the lack of video evidence showing Robinson actually taking the shot. Despite multiple cameras at the event and surveillance systems across campus, no footage has been released showing the moment of firing from Robinson's alleged position. The eyewitness who filmed the only existing footage of a figure on the rooftop has stated publicly that the person he saw doesn't match Tyler Robinson's description. According to this witness, the shooter wore completely different tactical gear than what Robinson allegedly had. Even more significant.
Y'all see that? Man, that was a limp right there. Or like he had a big rifle down the side of his leg. or that leg was messed up, you know what I'm saying? But he looked crazy though, you know what I'm saying? Damn.
The weapon visible in the footage doesn't match the rifle Robinson supposedly used. This witness, who has extensive firearms training and teaches others how to shoot, is adamant that what he observed doesn't align with the official account. Then there's the matter of Robinson's supposed confession. Text messages between Robinson and his roommate, which prosecutors are treating as a confession, read almost like a screenplay. The messages describe retrieving a rifle from a drop point, engraving bullets, changing outfits, and leaving the weapon wrapped in a towel. The language is oddly formal and detailed for casual text messages between romantic partners. Even more suspicious, Robinson allegedly didn't confess when brought in for questioning, so how exactly was he arrested? His father recognized him in photos and convinced him to turn himself in, but Robinson himself never admitted to the crime to authorities. In most jurisdictions, you can't arrest someone for murder based solely on their father's suspicions. You need actual evidence or a confession. As we examine these inconsistencies, a disturbing pattern emerges. Was Tyler Robinson the actual shooter, or was he something else entirely? A decoy, a patsy, someone whose presence at the scene served a different purpose. Forensic anomalies and the decoy theory. The physical evidence in Charlie Kirk's assassination contains anomalies that challenge the lone gunman narrative. When we examine the forensics closely, the ballistics, the wound characteristics, the weapon itself.
If he didn't do it, he had to have something to do with it. I mean, damn. What the hell you on top of the building, jumping off the top of the building for? Now if they got video of that, if they got video of you on top of the building, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody else on top of the building. Like, you got something to do with something. Lock his ass up. Now, of course, we're going to ask his ass, who else is involved with this? You know what I'm saying? And like, if you don't want to give up no names, that's fine. You're going to stay your ass locked up. You're not getting out. Because he obviously had something to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, we got to play this smart. These some crazy fools, I got to tell you that. It's serious out here.
Questions multiply faster than answers. Let's start with what should be the most straightforward piece of evidence, the rifle recovered at the scene. Investigators found a bolt-action Mauser rifle, chambered in .30-06, wrapped in a towel in the woods near campus. The weapon reportedly had Tyler Robinson's DNA on the trigger, stock and barrel. Case closed, right? Not quite.
Regarding the bullets, the source says that it was too fragmented to match Tyler's rifle, so they don't have even the bullet. And let us not forget that Tyler himself has not confessed to anything.
Here's the problem. According to sources close to the investigation, the bullet fragments recovered from Kirk's body were too damaged to conclusively match Robinson's rifle. This is a critical gap in the forensic chain. Without ballistic matching, how can authorities be certain the rifle found in the woods was actually the murder weapon? The wound itself presents another puzzle. Kirk's surgeon described the lack of an exit wound as an absolute miracle, noting that a high-velocity .30-06 round typically passes completely through a human target. These rounds are designed to take down large game, moose, elk, even bears. The kinetic energy involved is enormous. The surgeon emphasized that dozens of people stood directly behind Kirk, and an exit wound could have caused additional casualties. But this miracle has spawned its own set of questions. Some ballistics experts have pointed out that the absence of an exit wound with such a powerful caliber is unusual enough to warrant additional scrutiny. Could the bullet that killed Kirk have come from a different weapon entirely? A lower caliber rifle or even a handgun at closer range could explain the wound characteristics more readily than a .30-06 at nearly 150 yards. The autopsy itself has become a source of controversy. Despite Utah law,
when you really think about that, I can see that there's a little fuzzy that one there now. From that distance, you know, I don't know if you've seen the official video of when that bullet hit or whatnot, coming out, some people say. But it's a little spot. It's like a little spot on the neck. So, man, I don't know.
or requiring autopsies for violent deaths, particularly gunshot homicides, the full report has not been made public. What we know comes from carefully controlled releases to the media. A leaked police dispatch audio clip appears to suggest that Kirk did not go in for an autopsy, and that the death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital. Officials have since clarified that a full forensic autopsy was conducted at Timpanogos Regional Hospital within 24 hours, with preliminary results showing a single gunshot wound to the neck. But the confusion itself is telling. Why wasn't this information released immediately and unambiguously? And why, in a case this significant, hasn't the full autopsy report been made public? Now let's talk about what prosecutors are calling Tyler Robinson's confession. The text messages between Robinson and his roommate have been central to the government's case, but they've also become a focal point for skepticism across the political spectrum.
Oh, you know what? It's probably the Discord messages. I forgot, silly me. The Discord, I forgot he was so explicit. How could we forget? Oh Lance, wherefore art thou, Lance? Deny thy father and refuse thy name? And if thou wilt not, Lance, the bullet, me, my handprints, it was me. It was me, my love. I did everything. I carved it. Do you remember, my love, when I was carving the bullets?
The messages are remarkably detailed and sequential, describing every step of the assassination with the kind of precision you'd expect from a police report, not a confession between romantic partners. Robinson allegedly texted his roommate to check under his keyboard for a note, which read, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." The subsequent exchange reads like this. Robinson admits to the shooting, explains he's hiding from police, describes hiding the rifle in a bush wrapped in a towel, mentions changing outfits, and worries about his father discovering the missing gun. He even describes engraving the bullets and jokes about seeing one of his memes on Fox News. But here's what's strange.
Yeah, like, you just killed somebody, man. How you gonna be worried about if your grandpa gonna be worried about the gun? Dog, you about to get locked up, man. The hell? You worried about your grandpa and the gun? You worried about that damn jail.
Discord, the platform where some of these conversations allegedly took place, issued a statement saying they found no evidence that the suspect planned this incident or promoted violence on Discord. This directly contradicts prosecutors' claims about Robinson's online activity. Political commentators from both left and right have questioned the authenticity of these messages. Conservative figures like Steve Bannon and Matt Walsh have called them scripted, while liberals have noted the messages are suspiciously perfect for prosecution. When figures across the political spectrum agree something seems off, it's worth paying attention. Then there's the curious case of George Zinn, the 71-year-old man who became what some are calling decoy boy. Immediately after Kirk was shot, Zinn was arrested after creating a disturbance, apparently trying to draw attention to himself. He made
This is what I was talking about. This did it crazy.
statements suggesting he was involved in the shooting, but investigators quickly determined he wasn't the actual shooter. Zinn was charged with obstruction of justice, which is suspicious enough on its own. Why would someone fake involvement in a murder? But the story gets stranger. When police examined Zinn's cell phone, they discovered images related to child abuse. This detail has led some to speculate about deeper connections. In intelligence operations, compromised individuals are often useful as assets because they can be controlled through blackmail. It's also worth noting that witnesses reported seeing suspicious individuals on the Losi Center rooftop weeks before the assassination. A professor even confronted someone up there, but the person dismissed concerns. If Robinson was conducting reconnaissance, why would he be so obvious about it? And if it wasn't Robinson, who was it? The security failures that day deserve special attention. Kirk was speaking at an outdoor event with no metal detectors, no bag checks, and apparently no one securing nearby rooftops, despite the fact that he'd received death threats and traveled with private security. This represents either gross negligence or something more sinister.
The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive.
FBI Director Kash Patel has emphasized the thoroughness of the investigation, stating that over 7,000 leads were processed and more than 200 interviews conducted. But this raises its own questions. If the case against Robinson is so airtight, why were thousands of leads necessary? What were investigators looking for? Sources have told Candace Owens that the FBI doesn't have footage showing how the rifle actually got onto the roof. According to the official timeline, Robinson allegedly dropped onto the roof at 12:15 p.m., just 8 48 minutes before the shooting. But if he brought the rifle up with him, why is there no video of this? Utah Valley University has extensive surveillance systems. The absence of this footage is glaring. Several people who attended Kirk's event that day have come forward with their own observations. One witness described seeing unusual hand signals between individuals in the crowd just before the shooting. While some have dismissed this as coincidence or misinterpretation, others familiar with military and law enforcement communication have noted the gestures do resemble tactical signals. The most explosive claims come from Robinson's own community. A family member of Lance Twiggs, Robinson's transgender roommate and romantic partner, has revealed that unusual traffic was observed at their residence in the weeks leading up to the assassination. Neighbors reported seeing numerous
that look crazy, man. It's just, damn.
Vehicles with out-of-state license plates, which struck them as odd for a couple that rarely had visitors. Twiggs' family has also expressed shock at how quickly the investigation moved away from him. They've described Twiggs as having significant issues, including problems with alcohol and what they characterize as increasingly radical political views. They were present at an incident where Twiggs nearly overdosed 3 years ago. Yet investigators seem satisfied with his cooperation and haven't named him as a person of interest beyond his connection to Robinson. This brings us to the heart of the decoy theory. What if Tyler Robinson's role wasn't to pull the trigger, but to be caught? What is DNA on the rifle, his presence on campus, even those text messages were all part of a plan in which he was the fall guy? Consider the evidence that points in this direction. First, the ballistics don't definitively match. Second, the eyewitness who filmed the rooftop figure says it wasn't Robinson. Third, there's no video of Robinson with the rifle on the roof. Fourth, Robinson never confessed to authorities despite being in custody. Fifth, the timing of the text messages and their scripted nature raises red flags. And sixth, there was unusual activity at Robinson's residence before the shooting. One local law enforcement theory that hasn't come from official channels suggests Robinson may have been instructed to walk and drop off his gun at a neighboring house, essentially making a delivery. This would explain his DNA on the weapon without requiring him to be the shooter. It would also explain why he never confessed, because he wasn't the assassin, just an unwitting or coerced participant. Political motivations and the cover-up. To understand why Charlie Kirk might have been assassinated and why certain parties might want the case closed quickly, we need to examine who Kirk was becoming in the final months of his life and who might have viewed him as a threat. Charlie Kirk built Turning Point USA from nothing into a powerhouse organization with over 3,500 campus chapters. His influence in mobilizing young voters was unprecedented for a conservative organization. He helped deliver historic gains for Republicans among young demographics, particularly in the 2024 election cycle. At just 31 years old, some political observers believed Kirk could one day run for president himself, but Kirk's final months were marked by tension with some of his most powerful allies. He had begun questioning certain aspects of US foreign policy, particularly regarding Israel and the influence of pro-Israel lobbying groups on American politics. This shift put him at odds with major donors and establishment Republicans.
I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things.
This is Kirk speaking just 1 month before his death, expressing frustration with how he was being treated for allowing debates about Israel at his events. He was under intense pressure from donors and political allies who wanted him to silence critics of Israeli policy. Kirk refused.
The behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're gonna be pro-Hamas, not like we're gonna, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive.
Just weeks before his assassination, Kirk attended a meeting in the Hamptons with several wealthy donors, including billionaire Bill Ackman. Multiple sources have described this gathering as an intervention aimed at getting Kirk back in line on Israel policy. According to attendees, the meeting grew heated, with Kirk feeling he was being blackmailed. During this meeting, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly called Kirk and invited him to visit Israel, an invitation Kirk allegedly declined. He was also offered increased funding for Turning Point USA in exchange for adjusting his positions, which he refused.
He declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as re-education camp. We've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. We just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah? We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better.
Now, does this mean Israel or pro-Israel donors orchestrated Kirk's assassination? Not necessarily, but it establishes a pattern. Kirk was under enormous pressure from powerful interests to conform to a particular narrative. When he resisted, that pressure escalated. Prime Minister Netanyahu even appeared on Fox News within 24 hours of Kirk's death, holding up a letter Kirk had written and characterizing their relationship in terms that Kirk's close associates say misrepresented his final positions. Candace Owens has been the most vocal in raising questions about these connections, though her theories have drawn criticism from groups like the ADL, which has labeled some of her claims as anti-Semitic. But Owens points to something concrete. Kirk had announced a major audit of Turning Point USA's finances just 1 week before his death, expressing concern about rapid money burn and questioning where funds were coming from. Several Turning Point USA employees have contacted Owens with concerns about changes at the organization in the months leading up to Kirk's death. They've described increased internal conflicts and what some characterize as attempts to marginalize Kirk's influence over his own organization. But there's another dimension to this story that can't be ignored: the federal government's behavior. President Trump has used Kirk's assassination to push for designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization and cracking down on left-wing groups. This has raised concerns among
Yeah. Man, that CK business is some business. You hear me? But I was trying to stay up to date with this stuff, man. But this stuff go deep. This stuff crazy. You know what I'm saying? We'll never understand what's in some of these people's minds that do some of the things they do. You know what I'm saying? But at this time in the video, for those of you who haven't, man, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button and check me out on the next one. You know what I'm saying? Peace out.